Billionaire CEO couldn't perform for 10 years until he met the doctor. The truth made him cry. The penthouse is silent except for the sound of rain against glass. 53 floors above a city that once feared his name, a man stands at the window with his palm pressed flat against the cold surface. His reflection stares back at him. Hollow eyes, sunken cheeks, a body that forgot what strength feels like. Behind him, the apartment stretches vast and empty. Italian marble, original sculptures, furniture worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. All of it meaningless. His voice comes out barely above a whisper. They called me the most powerful man in this city. They said my name in boardrooms like a prayer and a curse. I built an empire from nothing. From less than nothing. He turns slightly, and we see his face properly for the first time. Mid-40s. Handsome once. Now just tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. But power means nothing when your own body becomes a prison you cannot escape. When the woman you love turns your morning coffee into poison. When she smiles at you every single day while she kills you inch by inch. His hand drops from the glass. My name is Vincent Hale. And for 10 years, I have been dying in this tower. Waiting for the end. Praying for it, some nights. He walks toward a side table where a whiskey glass sits untouched. But what happened next? What God or fate or sheer dumb luck dropped into my path on the worst night of my life? He picks up the glass, stares at the amber liquid. That is why I am still breathing. That is why I am standing here, telling you this story instead of rotting in the ground where she wanted me. The glass shatters against the wall. So, if you have 10 minutes, if you have ever felt broken beyond repair, if you have ever wondered whether the universe gives second chances to people who have given up on themselves, he turns to face us directly. Stay with me, because what I am about to tell you changed everything. Before we go any further, I need to ask you something. If this story touches you, if it makes you feel something real, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below saying present so I know my family is here with me. Your love gives meaning to every word I speak. Now, let me take you back to the beginning, to the man I used to be before she found me. Before she destroyed me. Before she made me wish I had never been born. The year was 2014 and Vincent Hale was untouchable. At 32 years old, he had built Hale Technologies from a garage startup into a billion-dollar empire. His face appeared on magazine covers. His name echoed through boardrooms from New York to Tokyo. When he walked into a room, conversation stopped. People straightened their spines. They watched him like he was something more than human. And maybe he believed it too. Maybe that was his first mistake. The charity gala at the Metropolitan Grand was the kind of event where fortunes changed hands over champagne and small talk. Vincent stood near the bar, nursing a drink he did not want, scanning the room for anyone worth talking to. His assistant materialized at his elbow. The Thornton deal is confirmed for Monday. Also, there is someone here who specifically asked to meet you. Vincent did not look up. Everyone here specifically asked to meet me, David. That is how these things work. No, sir. This one is different. She is... David hesitated, which made Vincent finally turn. She is what? Persistent. And she is currently standing right behind me. Vincent looked past David's shoulder, and his breath caught in his throat. She was stunning. The kind of beautiful that made noise seem quieter, that made the rest of the room blur at the edges. Dark hair cascading over bare shoulders. A red dress that moved like water when she walked. Eyes that held his gaze without flinching. She smiled, and Vincent felt something shift in his chest. Mr. Hale, I have heard so much about you. Her voice was honey and smoke. Low, confident. Nothing like the nervous flutter he usually heard from people trying to impress him. That is funny. I have heard nothing about you. She laughed, and the sound wrapped around him like silk. Camille Ashford. I work in pharmaceutical consulting. Very boring compared to building technological empires. Nothing about you seems boring, Miss Ashford. She tilted her head, studying him. That is exactly the kind of line I would expect from a man who has everything, except sincerity. Vincent blinked. No one talked to him like that. Not anymore. Not since he became someone whose displeasure could end careers. And instead of anger, he felt something he had not experienced in years. Interest. Then let me try again. Would you like to get out of here and find somewhere that serves food that does not require a magnifying glass to see? Camille's smile widened. I thought you would never ask. That night, they sat in a 24-hour diner 3 blocks from the gala. Vincent still in his tuxedo, Camille still in her red dress. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A tired waitress brought them coffee and pancakes, and they talked for hours. Vincent found himself saying things he had never told anyone. About his childhood in foster care. About the hunger that drove him, not for money, but for security. For a place in the world where no one could ever throw him away again. Camille listened like every word mattered. She asked questions that cut straight to the bone. She laughed at his jokes and called him out when he tried to deflect with sarcasm. By the time dawn light crept through the diner windows, Vincent knew 2 things with absolute certainty. He was falling for this woman, and he would do anything to keep her. The courtship was a whirlwind. Private jets to Paris, weekends in the Maldives, dinners at restaurants with year-long waiting lists. Vincent spared no expense, showered her with every luxury his fortune could buy. But Camille never seemed impressed by the money. She was more interested in him, in the man beneath the suits and the headlines. Or so he believed. "Tell me something real," she said one night, curled against him on the deck of his yacht. "Something that scares you." Vincent stared at the stars scattered across the Mediterranean sky. Being alone, being forgotten, building all of this and having no one to share it with. Camille's hand found his. "You are not alone anymore. You know that, right?" He turned to look at her, and the moonlight made her eyes shine like polished obsidian. "Marry me." The words came out before he could stop them. No ring, no plan, just the raw truth of what he wanted. Camille went still. "Vincent, we have only been together for 4 months. I know what I want. I have spent my whole life knowing what I want and going after it and never apologizing. I want you. I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life." Silence stretched between them. Then Camille smiled that smile. The one that made the world seem brighter and softer and full of possibility. Yes, he kissed her like she was oxygen and he had been drowning. The wedding was covered by every major publication. The guest list read like a who's who of politics, technology, and old money. Vincent stood at the altar in a custom Tom Ford suit and watched Camille walk toward him in a cloud of white silk, and he thought his heart might actually burst from his chest. They wrote their own vows. He promised to protect her, to provide for her, to love her until his last breath. She promised the same. Neither of them mentioned honesty. Neither of them mentioned truth. Looking back, Vincent would realize that omission should have been a warning. The first year was paradise. Camille moved into the penthouse and made it feel like a home for the first time. She filled the empty spaces with fresh flowers and soft music, and the kind of laughter Vincent had never had in his life. She cooked breakfast on Sunday mornings, though they had a full-time chef. She left love notes in his briefcase for him to find during meetings. He started delegating more work, taking actual vacations, remembering that there was more to existence than shareholder value and quarterly projections. His board noticed the change. Some approved. Others worried. "You are getting soft, Hale," his COO remarked after a meeting where Vincent had shown actual mercy to an underperforming department head. "No, I am getting happy." He did not see the problem with that. Not yet. It started small. So small he almost missed it. One morning, Camille brought him a smoothie while he was getting dressed for work. "I made this for you. Special recipe, full of antioxidants and adaptogens." Vincent took a sip. Vaguely herbal, not unpleasant. What is in it? Good things. Things that will help you manage stress, sleep better, stay strong. "You work so hard, Vincent. Let me take care of you." She kissed his cheek and he drank the rest without question. Because she was his wife. Because he loved her. Because trusting her was as natural as breathing. That smoothie became part of his daily routine. Every morning, without fail. Sometimes she added drops to his evening wine too. Special tinctures, she called them. Formulated by a naturopath friend. "You need to relax," she would say when he came home wound tight from difficult negotiations. "Your body cannot sustain this level of tension forever." He believed her. He drank what she gave him. And month by month, something inside him started to die. The first time it happened, they were on vacation in Bora Bora. Private overwater bungalow. Sunset painting the sky in shades of fire. Camille emerged from the bathroom in lingerie that left nothing to imagination, and Vincent felt nothing. His body, which had always responded to her with embarrassing enthusiasm, remained still, uninterested, like a machine that had been unplugged. He tried everything, touched her, kissed her, willed himself to respond. Nothing. The shame hit him like a physical blow. It is okay. Camille curled against him afterward, her voice soothing. You have been working so hard. You are exhausted. It happens to everyone. He wanted to believe her. I do not know what is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. You just need rest. She held him while he stared at the ceiling, a cold knot of fear settling in his stomach. It was probably just stress, just exhaustion. It would not happen again. It happened again, and again, and again. Each failure drove the knife of humiliation deeper into Vincent's chest. He tried resting more, working less. He secretly saw a specialist who ran tests and found nothing physically wrong. It is likely psychological, the doctor said. Performance anxiety can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Perhaps couples counseling would help. Vincent could not bring himself to tell Camille about the appointment. The thought of admitting out loud that he had become less than a man, that his body had betrayed him in the most fundamental way possible, made him want to disappear. So he said nothing. And he kept drinking the smoothies, and the drops, and the tinctures, because his wife gave them to him, because she said they would help, because he never once considered that help was the opposite of what she intended. The mask began to crack on their second anniversary. Vincent had planned an elaborate dinner, private chef, string quartet, a necklace worth more than most houses sitting in a velvet box by her plate. Camille smiled through the meal, laughed at his jokes, made all the right noises about the necklace. But when they retired to the bedroom and his body failed him once more, her expression shifted. Again? Really? The contempt in her voice cut straight through him. Camille, I am sorry. I do not know what is happening. I have been seeing specialists, trying everything. She sat up, pulling the sheets around herself like armor. Vincent, we have been married 2 years. Do you know how long it has been since you actually... She did not finish the sentence. She did not have to. I have needs. I am a woman with needs, and you cannot even. Camille, please. She stood, grabbed a robe, and moved toward the door. I am sleeping in the guest room tonight. Maybe you should see a real doctor instead of whatever quacks you have been consulting. The door closed behind her. Vincent sat alone in their bed, in their beautiful penthouse, surrounded by everything money could buy, and felt more worthless than he had during his worst days in foster care. At least then, he could blame his circumstances on being a child, on having no power over his situation. Now he was one of the richest men in the country, and he could not even satisfy his wife. The humiliation spread like a cancer. It started at a dinner party they hosted. Vincent excused himself to the restroom and returned to find Camille in a circle of wives, their heads bent together, hushed laughter punctuating whatever story she was telling. The laughter stopped when they saw him, but the looks did not. The knowing glances, the barely concealed pity. What were you talking about? Camille's smile was honeyed innocence. Oh, nothing important. Just girl talk. But the damage was done. He saw it in the way women looked at him for the rest of the night. The way their husbands avoided his eyes. She had told them. His wife had told strangers the most shameful secret of his existence, and now it was spreading through their social circle like wildfire. At the next industry event, he caught fragments of conversation. Poor Vincent. I heard he cannot... All that money, and he still cannot keep his wife happy. No wonder she looks elsewhere. Vincent stood frozen by the bar, champagne turning to acid in his stomach. Camille appeared at his side, took his arm, smiled at him with perfect wifely devotion. Are you all right, darling? You look pale. He wanted to scream at her, to demand an explanation, to ask why she was destroying him in public while pretending to love him in private. But the words would not come. Because somewhere deep inside, a poisoned part of his brain whispered that maybe he deserved it. Maybe if he were a real man, a better man, none of this would be happening. I am fine, he heard himself say. He was not fine. He was dying. The years that followed blurred together in a haze of shame and isolation. Vincent withdrew from social events, delegated more and more work, spent increasing hours alone in his home office, staring at screens without seeing them. Camille filled her time with shopping, spa days, and lunches that lasted until dinner. His credit card statements showed purchases that would have made him flinch if he still cared about money. But what was money compared to feeling like a man? If he could not give her what she needed in bed, maybe he could at least keep her happy with material things. Pathetic logic. He knew it even then. But love makes fools of everyone. And he loved her desperately. Or thought he did. Maybe it was just terror. Terror of being alone again. Of proving that he was fundamentally unworthy of connection, of family, of everything he had spent his life building toward. So he stayed, and she kept poisoning him. And the world kept spinning, indifferent to the slow murder happening in that glass tower above the city. The end came at Vincent's own product launch. 5 years of development. Revolutionary technology that would change the healthcare industry. Thousands of investors, journalists, and industry leaders gathered in the grand ballroom of the hotel he owned. His moment of triumph. He stood at the podium, lights blazing, cameras rolling, the culmination of everything he had worked for about to unfold. And then Camille appeared. She walked to the front of the room in a white dress that made her look angelic. Innocent. Pure. A lie wrapped in silk and pearls. Vincent watched her approach the stage with a growing sense of dread. "Camille, what are you—" She took the microphone from his hand with a smile that never reached her eyes. "I have an announcement." The room went silent. "I am leaving my husband tonight." The words hit Vincent like a physical blow. He stumbled back a step. "I'm leaving this broken, pathetic man who cannot even function as a husband should. I have needs. Real needs. And he cannot meet a single one of them." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones appeared. Cameras pivoted. "I deserve someone whole. Someone who can actually be a man. And I found him." She gestured toward the back of the room. Vincent turned, already knowing what he would see. His CFO, Marcus Webb, stepped forward. The man he had mentored, trusted, considered a friend. Marcus smiled, walked to the stage, and put his arm around Camille's waist. "I hope you understand, Vincent. She deserves better than what you can give her." They walked out together while the room erupted. Flashes, whispers, the muffled thunder of 1,000 conversations starting at once. Vincent stood at that podium, paralyzed, watching his wife leave with his best friend while the world recorded his humiliation for posterity. Someone touched his shoulder. He jerked away, ran, literally ran up the stairs to the hotel suite he had reserved, locked the door behind him, and collapsed against it. His phone was already buzzing. Texts, calls, social media notifications. He threw it against the wall. And then he slid to the floor, pressed his hands over his face, and screamed into the silence until his throat went raw. That was the last night Vincent Hale faced the outside world. The next morning, he returned to his penthouse and did not leave. Not for the emergency board meeting where they stripped him of his CEO title. Not for the divorce proceedings where Camille's lawyers carved up his fortune with surgical precision. Not for the therapy sessions well-meaning friends tried to arrange. Not for anything. He simply stopped. Stopped answering the door. Stopped answering phones. Stopped opening mail that piled up in the lobby until building management disposed of it. His fortune dwindled. Not from living, because he barely ate, barely moved, barely did anything that required resources. But Camille's settlement was designed to bleed him dry, and he let it. Signed every document. Gave her everything she asked for. What did money matter when you could not even look at yourself in the mirror? The household staff quit one by one. No one to pay them. No one to manage them. The last housekeeper knocked on his bedroom door before she left. "Mr. Hale? I am so sorry, but I cannot stay anymore. I hope you find peace." He did not answer. Just listened to her footsteps fade down the hallway. The front door closing. And then silence. Complete. Total. Suffocating silence. 3 years passed like that. Vincent became a ghost haunting his own home. He ate when hunger became unbearable. Showered when the smell of himself became offensive. Watched the city lights at night and wondered what it would feel like to simply stop existing. But he never took that final step. Not because he had hope. He had no hope left. Because ending it would require courage he no longer possessed. So he existed. Breathed in and out. Let the days blur together until time itself lost meaning. The only thing he maintained was his car. A vintage restoration project from better days, stored in the building's garage. Once a week he would drag himself down there, run the engine, check the tires. It was the only ritual connecting him to who he used to be. Before her. Before the poison. Before he became this empty shell wearing the face of a man who once ruled an empire. And then, one night, everything changed. Vincent woke on his leather couch to a sensation he had almost forgotten. Hunger. Not the vague discomfort he usually ignored. Real, primal, demanding hunger that twisted his stomach and made his hands shake. When had he last eaten? 2 days ago? 3? He could not remember. The kitchen was empty. Bare. Nothing but dust and expired protein bars he could not force himself to touch. For the first time in 3 years, Vincent felt something other than shame. He felt need. His body still wanted to live, even if his mind had given up. The garage was dark except for emergency lights. Vincent walked to his car on unsteady legs and ran his hand along the hood. Cold metal. Familiar curves. The one thing in his life he had not let decay. Just to get food. Just this once. He climbed behind the wheel. Turned the key. The engine roared to life. The sound vibrated through his chest. Powerful. Alive. Everything he was not. Vincent backed out of the garage and drove into a night that would change his life forever. The storm came from nowhere. One moment the sky was clear, stars scattered across the darkness like spilled diamonds. The next, clouds swallowed everything. Rain hammered his windshield with biblical fury. Lightning cracked the sky into jagged white scars. Vincent gripped the wheel, blinded by the downpour, wondering if this was the universe finally answering his unspoken prayers. Maybe this was how it ended. Maybe this storm would take him, and he would not have to make the choice himself. Then the engine sputtered. No. Coughed. No. Died. The car rolled to a stop on the side of an empty road. Middle of nowhere. No houses. No lights. Just rain and darkness and the crushing realization that even his one reliable thing had abandoned him. Vincent sat in the silence, rain drumming the roof, and felt something crack inside his chest. Not his heart. That had broken long ago. Something deeper. Something that had been holding him together through sheer stubbornness. He started laughing. Bitter, broken laughter that turned into sobs. That turned into screams swallowed by the storm. Is this it? He yelled at the darkness. Is this how it ends? Alone on some empty road? Starving to death in a car worth more than most houses while everyone who ever knew me thinks I deserve it? The universe did not answer. It never did. Vincent pressed his forehead against the steering wheel and let the tears come. All of them. Every tear he had held back for a decade of slow destruction. When he finally raised his head, something caught his eye through the rain-streaked windshield. A light. Small. Distant. But unmistakably real. A single point of warmth in all that cold darkness. Vincent grabbed his jacket, threw open the door, and ran toward that light like a drowning man swimming for shore. The clinic appeared through the rain like something from a fever dream. Small, wooden, glowing with impossible warmth. A hand-painted sign swung in the wind, barely legible through the downpour. Millbrook Community Clinic. All welcome. Vincent stumbled up the steps, clothes plastered to his body, and pounded on the door. Once. Twice. His fist froze mid-swing as the door opened. A woman stood in the doorway, backlit by amber light. She was not young. Silver threaded through dark curls. Lines of experience framed intelligent eyes. But something about her made Vincent's breath catch. Not beauty, though she had that too. Something else. Something that felt like safety. Come in from the rain, she said simply, stepping aside. Her voice held warmth and steel in equal measure. Vincent hesitated. 3 years of avoiding all human contact screamed at him to run back into the storm. To disappear into the darkness where he belonged. You will catch your death out there. The woman raised an eyebrow. And you already look half dead, so let us not tempt fate. He stumbled inside. Water pooled at his feet, dripping accusations onto her clean floor. I am sorry. My car broke down. I just need to use a phone. I will call someone. I will leave immediately. The woman studied him with eyes that saw too much. Vincent fought the urge to bolt. You are soaked through. Starving. From the look of you. When did you last eat? I do not. That is what I thought. She moved to a cabinet, pulled out towels. I am Dr. Amara Rhodes. I run this clinic. Vincent took the towels with trembling hands. Vincent. Just Vincent. If the name meant anything to her, if she recognized him from the viral videos of his humiliation, she gave no sign. Well, just Vincent. You are going to dry off. Then you are going to sit at that table while I make you something to eat. I really do not need. Yes, you do. Her tone left no room for argument. The soup tasted like resurrection. Simple broth, vegetables, herbs from a garden Vincent could see through the window, silvered by rain. He ate slowly at first, afraid his stomach would reject anything after so long. Then faster. Then with desperate hunger he could not control. Amara sat across from him at the worn wooden table, sipping tea, watching without judgment. That was the strangest part. No pity in her eyes, no curiosity about why a grown man had stumbled into her clinic looking like a corpse in expensive clothes. No questions about who he was or where he came from. Just presence. Storm will not let up before morning. Roads are too dangerous. She set down her cup. There is a recovery room in the back. Patients use it sometimes when they need observation. You will sleep there tonight. I could not possibly impose. You can. And you will. Vincent opened his mouth to argue, closed it. Something about this woman made resistance feel pointless. Like trying to argue with gravity or the tide. Why? The question came out before he could stop it. Why are you helping me? I am a stranger. I could be anyone. I could be dangerous. Amara paused in the doorway and looked back at him. Really looked, like she could see through his skin to all the broken pieces underneath. Because you knocked on my door, and I never turned away someone who needed help. She disappeared into the back of the clinic. Vincent sat alone with his empty bowl and a feeling he could not name. Not hope. Not yet. But something adjacent to it. Something that whispered, maybe he was not completely invisible after all. The recovery room was small but clean. Fresh sheets on a narrow bed. A window overlooking the storm. Medical equipment humming softly in the corner. Vincent lay down fully clothed, certain he would not sleep. His mind was too loud. His body too wired from the adrenaline of the storm, the run, the impossible kindness of a stranger who had no reason to care whether he lived or died. He was wrong. Sleep pulled him under like a riptide. Dragged him into the first dreamless rest he had experienced in years. No nightmares of Camille's laughter. No memories of cameras flashing while his world collapsed. Just darkness. And quiet. And the sound of rain on the roof like a lullaby he had forgotten he needed. When Vincent woke, sunlight streamed through the window. Morning. He had slept through the entire night. The realization shocked him more than anything that had happened since the storm began. He could not remember the last time he had slept more than 3 hours at a stretch. The last time he had woken without the weight of dread pressing down on his chest. Voices drifted from the main room. Amara talking to someone. A patient, probably. Vincent sat up slowly. His body ached everywhere. The deep ache of years of neglect finally demanding acknowledgement. He should leave. Sneak out before she saw him in the harsh light of day. Before she realized what a pathetic wreck she had invited into her clinic. His legs would not move. The door opened. Amara stepped in carrying a tray. Coffee. Toast. Eggs. Thought you might be hungry. She set the tray on the bedside table. You do not have to keep feeding me. I know I do not have to. I want to. She sat in the chair beside the bed, studying him with those two perceptive eyes. How do you feel? Vincent considered the question. Confused. Why are you being so kind to a stranger? Amara smiled, and something about it cracked another piece of the ice around Vincent's chest. Everyone is a stranger until they are not. Besides, you look like you needed kindness more than you needed questions. They sat in comfortable silence while Vincent ate. Real food. Real company. Real human connection. He had forgotten any of it still existed. Your car is still out there. I called a friend who does mechanical work. He will take a look this afternoon. Vincent set down his coffee cup. Thank you. For everything. I should go. I have bothered you enough. Where will you go? The question hung in the air. Vincent had no answer. Back to his empty penthouse. Back to his tomb of shame and silence. Back to waiting for an end that refused to come. Amara watched him struggle to find words. Stay. At least until your car is fixed. I could use some help around here anyway. Place needs repairs I keep putting off. I cannot hold a hammer. I bet you can. Everyone can do something useful. Vincent stared at this woman who had opened her door to a drowning stranger and could not understand her at all. People did not just help. They wanted something. Expected something. There was always a price. What do you want from me? Nothing you are not willing to give. Amara stood, moved toward the door. Maybe just your time. Maybe just your company. Maybe just a chance to help someone who clearly needs it. I do not need help. Everyone needs help, Vincent. The ones who say they do not are usually the ones who need it most. She paused with her hand on the doorframe. There is a broken cabinet in the supply room. Tools are in the closet by the back door. She left before he could argue. Vincent sat alone with his half-empty plate and a chest full of feelings he did not know how to process. He should leave, get his car fixed, run back to his safe isolation. But something kept him rooted to that bed. Some small voice whispering that staying might not be weakness, that it might be the first brave thing he had done in years. By afternoon, Vincent had fixed the cabinet, reorganized the supply closet, repaired a leaking faucet, and replaced 3 burned-out light bulbs. His hands remembered how to work. His body remembered how to move with purpose. Amara appeared periodically throughout the day, smiled at his progress, never hovered. Just let him be useful. Let him matter. When the mechanic arrived, the diagnosis was simple. Needs a new fuel pump. Going to have to order the part. Few days at least. Vincent's stomach dropped. Few days. He would have to stay in this town. Face the world beyond these clinic walls. He can stay here. Amara spoke before Vincent could panic. The mechanic shrugged, made notes about the part, and left. After he was gone, Vincent turned to face her. I should find a motel. A hotel. Something. I have an empty room. You clearly need somewhere to stay. Seems simple to me. Nothing is ever that simple. Maybe it is. Maybe we just convince ourselves otherwise. Amara moved to the window, looking out at the rain-washed world beyond. I lost someone once. Someone I loved more than breathing. After he died, I buried myself in work, helping others because I could not help him. Vincent waited, breath held. Sometimes the people we help end up saving us right back. She turned, her eyes impossibly kind. So maybe you staying here helps us both. Vincent's throat closed. He could not remember the last time someone had looked at him like he mattered, like his presence was a gift rather than a burden. Okay, I will stay. He heard his own voice as if from a distance. Just until the car is fixed. Amara smiled. Just until the car is fixed. But something in her voice suggested she knew better. That neither of them believed that timeline. That maybe, just maybe, the broken-down car was not an accident at all, but destiny finally intervening in a life that had been dying by inches. That night, Vincent helped Amara close the clinic. They worked in comfortable silence, straightening chairs, restocking supplies, turning off lights. Ordinary tasks that felt extraordinary simply because he was not alone while doing them. Thank you. For everything. The words felt inadequate, laughably small compared to what she had given him in less than 24 hours. Amara looked at him, really looked. And Vincent felt seen in a way that terrified and thrilled him simultaneously. You are welcome, Vincent. Now get some rest. Tomorrow is a new day. She walked toward her quarters at the back of the clinic. Vincent watched her go and felt something shift in his chest. Not hope. Not yet. But a door that had been rusted shut for years, finally moving on its hinges. He returned to the recovery room, lay in the dark. And for the first time in forever, Vincent Hale felt something other than shame. He felt possibility. If you are feeling this story, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already. And drop a comment below telling me one word that describes how you are feeling. Days blurred into each other in ways Vincent had not experienced since before his world collapsed. Not the empty blurring of depression, where time lost all meaning and hours dissolved into nothing. This was different. This was the full blurring of purpose, where hours disappeared because they were actually filled with something. He found excuses to visit the clinic every morning. His car, he told himself. Just checking on the car, making sure the mechanic had not called yet. But the truth sat heavier in his chest with each passing day. He came back because of her. Amara never asked invasive questions, never pushed for explanations he was not ready to give. She simply handed him a task each morning and let him exist without judgment. The waiting room chairs need tightening. Screws are loose. Done by noon. Filing cabinet in the back is stuck. Been fighting with it for months. Fixed by 2. Mrs. Patterson gets nervous when she comes for her checkups. Maybe sit with her in the waiting room. Keep her company. Vincent found himself talking to an 80-year-old woman about her garden for 45 minutes and somehow enjoying every second of it. This was not his life. This was not who he was. And yet, the garden appeared on his 3rd day. Amara led him around the back of the clinic where a patch of earth stretched toward a weathered fence. Weeds choked what might have once been beautiful. Dead vines strangled forgotten trellises. Broken tools leaned against posts like soldiers who had given up fighting. "My shame," Amara said, hands on her hips. "I keep meaning to fix it. Clinic hours swallow all my time." Vincent studied the chaos, the neglect, the potential buried beneath years of abandonment. Something in his chest recognized it. "I could help." Amara turned to look at him. Really look. The way she always did, like she was reading words written on his bones. "I was hoping you would say that." They started that afternoon. Vincent had never gardened in his life, had never dug his hands into soil or pulled weeds until his shoulders burned. His penthouse had a rooftop terrace maintained by professionals he never spoke to. Plants were things that appeared and disappeared according to schedules he never saw. This was different. This was dirt under his fingernails and sweat dripping down his spine and muscles screaming from years of inactivity. This was Amara kneeling beside him, showing him which plants were weeds and which were worth saving. "This one, see the leaves? That is actually lavender. Someone planted it years ago. Still fighting to survive." Vincent looked at the scraggly plant, barely recognizable, choked by everything around it. "How do you know it is worth saving?" "Because it is still trying. Anything still trying deserves a chance." She was not talking about the lavender. He knew that. She knew he knew. Neither of them said anything more. "Healing is not just medicine, you know." Amara spoke while they cleared another section of the garden, late afternoon sun painting everything gold. Vincent paused, trowel in hand. "What do you mean?" "I mean that bodies break in all kinds of ways. Physical, emotional, spiritual, and they heal in all kinds of ways too. Sometimes the best thing for a wounded soul is not a pill or a procedure. Sometimes it is dirt, sunlight, the act of making something grow." Vincent looked at his hands, calloused now, stained with earth, stronger than they had been a week ago. "You think gardens can heal people?" "I think the act of nurturing something can heal people, giving care instead of just receiving it. Watching something you tended come back to life." She sat back on her heels and studied his face. "What happened to you, Vincent?" The question landed like a stone in still water. "I do not know what you mean." "Yes, you do. I have been a doctor for 23 years. I know what trauma looks like. I know what shame looks like. And I know what someone looks like when they have been carrying something too heavy for too long." Vincent's hands stilled in the dirt. "You do not have to tell me. That is not what I am asking. I am just letting you know that when you are ready, if you are ever ready, I am here, whatever it is. However bad you think it is. I have probably heard worse. You have not heard worse than this. Try me." Vincent shook his head. "Not yet. I cannot." "Not yet." Amara nodded slowly. "Then we keep gardening. And when you are ready, I will be right here." The days stretched into weeks. Vincent's car sat in the mechanic's lot, parts apparently backordered, delays extending indefinitely. He suspected Amara had something to do with that. He could not bring himself to care. The garden transformed beneath their hands. Where weeds had choked the earth, neat rows of vegetables emerged. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs Amara used in her practice. The lavender they had saved spread new growth, purple buds appearing like tiny miracles. Vincent found himself talking to the plants. Not out loud, not at first, but in his head while he watered them each morning before the clinic opened. "Come on, you can do it. Just a little more." Amara caught him once, murmuring encouragement to a struggling tomato vine. She did not laugh, just smiled that smile that made him feel seen without feeling exposed. "They like it when you talk to them. Studies have shown plants respond to human attention." "I feel ridiculous. You look alive. That is different from how you looked when you showed up." Vincent straightened, wiping dirt from his hands. "How did I look when I showed up? Like someone waiting to die." The words hit him like cold water. Because they were true, and because she had seen it from the first moment. The elderly woman's name was Mabel Patterson. She came to the clinic every Thursday for blood pressure checks and stayed for an hour afterward, chatting with whoever would listen. Her husband Harold had died 6 years ago. Her children lived in different states. The clinic was her social life now. Vincent found himself looking forward to her visits. "You remind me of my nephew," she told him one Thursday, patting his hand. Same sad eyes, same weight on his shoulders. He carried too much too. Never let anyone help him. What happened to him? Heart attack at 42. All that stress with nowhere to go. Vincent swallowed hard. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. Be different. Let people help you, young man. Whatever you are carrying, you do not have to carry it alone. She squeezed his hand with surprising strength. That doctor of yours. She is special. One of the good ones. If you have any sense at all, you will hold on to her. She is not my doctor. I mean, not really. I'm just staying here until my car is fixed. Mabel laughed, the sound like wind chimes. Oh, honey, your car has been fixed for a week. The mechanic told me himself. Said you just have not come to pick it up. Vincent went still. She knows, Mabel continued. Of course she knows. She is the one who asked him to keep it a little longer. Give you time to figure out that maybe you do not want to leave after all. That night, Vincent found Amara in the garden. The sun had set hours ago, but she sat on the small bench they had built together, face tilted toward stars scattered across the darkness. You lied to me. Amara did not startle. Did not turn. About what? My car. It has been ready for a week. Ah. She patted the bench beside her. Sit down, Vincent. He sat, though every instinct screamed at him to run. To grab his keys and disappear into the night before this woman saw any more of his broken pieces. I did not lie. I just delayed the truth. Why? Because you were not ready to leave, and I was not ready to let you go. The words hung between them. You do not even know me. I know enough. I know you work harder than anyone I have ever met when you have something to work for. I know you are gentle with frightened patients and kind to lonely old women. I know you talk to plants when you think no one is listening. She finally turned to face him. And I know that whatever broke you, whatever sent you running into that storm, it did not destroy the good in you. It is still there. Buried maybe, but still fighting. Like that lavender we saved. Vincent's vision blurred. You do not know what I was. What I became. What he could not finish. Then tell me. I cannot. Why not? Because you will look at me differently. Because you will realize I am not worth saving. Because once you know, you will want me gone, and I cannot. His voice cracked. I cannot lose this, whatever this is. It is the only good thing I have felt in 10 years, and I cannot lose it. Amara's hand found his in the darkness. Vincent, look at me. He forced his eyes to meet hers. Nothing you tell me will make me want you gone. Nothing. I have heard things that would turn your stomach. I have treated victims of abuse, survivors of unspeakable trauma, people who believed they were beyond redemption, and I have never once turned any of them away. This is different. Why? Because you are a man? Because society tells you that men are not supposed to be victims? That men are supposed to be strong and invulnerable and immune to manipulation? Vincent flinched. Tell me, she said softly. Please, let me carry some of this weight with you. The story poured out of him like poison from a wound. Everything. Camille. The smoothies and tinctures. The slow destruction of his body's most basic functions. The humiliation, private and then public. The years of believing he was broken, defective, less than human. The announcement at his own product launch. The viral videos of his destruction. The 3 years of isolation, waiting for death that never came. Amara listened without interrupting. Her hand never left his. Her expression never changed to the disgust or pity he expected. When he finally stopped talking, his voice raw, his face wet with tears he had not felt falling, silence filled the garden. Say something, Vincent. Just say it. Say I am pathetic. Say you understand why she left. Say whatever you are thinking. Just do not sit there in silence. Amara stood. Vincent braced himself for goodbye. Instead, she walked around the bench and knelt in front of him, taking both his hands in hers. Listen to me, Vincent Hale. What happened to you was abuse. Systematic, deliberate, calculated abuse. You were poisoned by someone who was supposed to love you, who exploited your trust and your devotion to destroy you from the inside out. She squeezed his hands hard enough to hurt. None of it was your fault. Do you hear me? None of it. You trusted your wife. You drank what she gave you because that is what loving partners do. You believed her lies because you loved her. That is not weakness. That is humanity. But I let it happen. I kept drinking what she gave me even when I started feeling wrong. I was so stupid, so desperate to believe she loved me that you were a victim. Victims do not cause their own victimization. She was a predator, Vincent. A skilled, patient predator who spent years breaking you down. The fact that you survived, that you are sitting here with me right now, is nothing short of miraculous. Vincent shook his head. I am not a survivor. I have been hiding in a tower for 3 years, waiting to die. But you did not die. And when your body demanded food, demanded life, you got in that car. You drove into a storm. You ran toward a light. Some part of you, buried beneath all that shame and pain, refused to give up. She reached up and touched his face. That part of you is what I see. That is what has been growing in this garden, alongside everything else. And I will be damned if I let you believe you are not worth saving. The next morning, Amara made him an offer. Let me run some tests. Vincent looked up from his coffee. What kind of tests? Blood work, hormone panels, toxicology screens. If she was giving you something for years, there might be traces. There might be damage we can identify. And if we can identify it, we might be able to treat it. His stomach clenched. I cannot go to a hospital. I cannot sit in a waiting room and explain to strangers that my wife chemically castrated me while I was too stupid to notice. You do not have to go to a hospital. I can run basic tests here. Send samples to a lab I trust. Everything stays private. Everything stays between us. What if there is nothing to find? What if I really am just broken? Then we deal with that. Together. But I do not believe you are permanently damaged, Vincent. I have seen men destroyed by trauma, by medication, by psychological warfare. The human body is resilient. And from what you described, you were systematically poisoned. That means there is a chance, a real chance, that with proper treatment, your body can heal. Hope flickered in Vincent's chest. Dangerous. Terrifying. But there, you really think so? I do not make promises I cannot keep. But yes, I think there is a very good chance we can heal you. Not overnight. This will take time, patience, commitment. But if you are willing to try, I am willing to fight for you. Why? Why do you care so much about someone you barely know? Amara set down her cup. Because I have been where you are. Not the same circumstances, but the same darkness. The same certainty that nothing would ever get better. And someone fought for me when I had given up on myself. I am still here because of that person. Paying it forward is the least I can do. Who was it? The person who fought for you. My husband, Michael. He saw me at my worst and loved me anyway. Refused to let me disappear, even when I begged him to. Her voice caught. He died before I could fully repay that debt. So now I pay it to others. To people like you. Vincent reached across the table and took her hand. I am so sorry. Do not be sorry. Be brave. Take the tests. Let me help you. The blood draw happened that afternoon. Amara was clinical, professional, explaining each vial, each test, each marker she was looking for. Vincent focused on the far wall and tried not to think about what the results might reveal. That is the hard part done. I will send these to the lab today. Results in a few days. And then we know what we are working with. She set down the vials and looked at him. But we do not wait for results to start healing. The treatment began before the blood work came back. Amara prescribed herbal supplements to flush potential toxins, designed exercise routines to rebuild the muscles Vincent had let atrophy, created meal plans focused on nutrition his body had been denied for years. Most challenging were the meditation exercises. Close your eyes. Breathe. Focus on your body without judgment. I hate my body. I know. That is why we are doing this. You need to rebuild your relationship with yourself. It was agony. Sitting with his feelings, his shame, his rage at what had been stolen. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to distract, to do anything except face the wreckage of who he had become. But Amara sat with him through it all, breathing when he breathed, present when he wanted to flee. You are doing so well. I am falling apart. Falling apart is part of healing. You have to let the old structures collapse before you can build new ones. The results arrived on a gray morning 10 days later. Amara spread the papers across her desk, reading with focused intensity. Vincent stood by the window, watching rain trace patterns on the glass, afraid to breathe. Vincent. Her voice was controlled. Professional. The voice she used when something was either very wrong or very extraordinary. Come look at this. He moved to stand beside her on legs that felt like water. See these levels here? Heavy metal compounds. specifically elements that interfere with hormonal production and neurological function. Vincent stared at the numbers without understanding. What does that mean? It means whatever she was giving you was not random herbs or vitamins. This was deliberate chemical poisoning. These compounds suppress testosterone production and inhibit nerve function in ways that would explain every symptom you described. The room tilted. She really was. Yes, she really was. Amara turned to face him. But here is the important part. Your levels are depressed, not destroyed. The damage is significant but not permanent. With chelation therapy, proper supplementation, time. Her hand found his. We can reverse this. Vincent sat down hard in the nearest chair. All those years of believing he was fundamentally defective, of accepting Camille's cruelty as deserved because he could not be the husband she needed, of hiding from the world because he was too broken to face it. And it was never him. It was never his fault. She poisoned me. Yes. For years. Yes. While I trusted her. While I loved her. While I drank whatever she gave me because I thought she was taking care of me. Yes. His voice cracked. Why? Why would anyone do that? I do not know. Control maybe. Some twisted need to have power over you. Some people are simply wired wrong, Vincent. They see love as weakness to exploit, not a gift to cherish. She knelt in front of him. But that is not your burden to understand. Your burden, your only burden, is to heal. To take back what she stole. To prove that you are so much more than what she reduced you to. What if I cannot? What if I try and nothing changes? Then we try something else. And something else after that. I am not giving up on you, Vincent. So you do not get to give up on yourself. The months that followed were the hardest of Vincent's life. And the most meaningful. Chelation therapy pulled the toxins from his system through 4 drips that left him exhausted but somehow lighter each time. The supplements Amara prescribed tasted terrible but seemed to be doing something. His mind cleared. His energy returned. The fog that had clouded his thoughts for years began to lift. The garden exploded with life. Tomatoes ripened on the vine. Herbs perfumed the air. The lavender they had saved bloomed in waves of purple that attracted butterflies and bees. Vincent worked in that garden every day, talked to the plants without embarrassment now, watched impossible things grow from soil that had seemed dead when he arrived. One morning, while repotting a struggling seedling, Amara appeared beside him. How do you feel? Vincent considered the question. Different. Clearer. Like I am waking up from a very long nightmare. Good. Because I have something to tell you. She held out a folder. Your latest blood work. Hormone levels are normalizing. Toxin markers are almost undetectable. Neurological function appears to be restoring itself. You mean? I mean you are healing, Vincent. Genuinely, measurably healing. He stared at the papers without seeing them. All those years I thought I was permanently destroyed. You were never destroyed. Just suppressed. There is a difference. She touched his arm. Your body is coming back online. It is going to take more time, more patience. But the trajectory is clear. You are going to be okay. Vincent felt tears streaming down his face. Not from sadness. From relief so profound it bordered on holy. The first stirring came 3 weeks later. Vincent woke before dawn, something different in his body. A warmth he had not felt in years. An awareness of sensation where there had been only numbness. He lay still, afraid to move, afraid it would disappear. It did not disappear. Later that day, working beside Amara in the garden, her arm brushed his while they reached for the same tool. Something sparked through him. Unmistakable. Real. Amara noticed his sudden stillness. You okay? I think something just happened. Understanding dawned in her eyes. Oh, it is not much. Just a flicker. But I have not felt anything like that in so long. That is your body remembering. Coming back to life. They stood in the garden they had built together, and Vincent felt tears falling again. It is working. You are actually saving me. We are saving you. Every day you choose to keep going, to keep trying, that is you saving yourself. I am just here to help. If you are feeling this story, hit that like button right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. Comment below and tell me you are still with me. Because what happens next changed everything. The night everything shifted started with another storm. Rain hammered the clinic roof. Wind rattled the windows. The power flickered twice, then died, plunging everything into darkness. Amara lit candles while Vincent built a fire in the small fireplace she used on cold nights. They sat together on her worn couch, amber light dancing across their faces. "Feels like the night we met," Vincent said. Amara smiled. "Except you are not half drowned and starving this time. Minor improvements." She laughed, and the sound wrapped around his heart. "Major improvements. You are a completely different person than the man who stumbled through my door. Because of you. Because of both of us." She turned to face him, firelight catching the silver in her hair. "You did the hard work, Vincent. I just pointed you in the right direction. Every choice, every struggle, every morning you woke up and decided to keep trying, that was you." Vincent looked at this woman who had pulled him from the abyss without asking anything in return. Something cracked open in his chest. Not the breaking he had felt so many times before. Something new. Something that felt like beginning. "Amara, there is something I need to tell you." She waited. "I know I am not fully healed yet. I know there is still a long way to go, but I need you to know that you have become the most important person in my life. Not because you saved me, not because I owe you everything, but because of who you are." His voice shook. "Your terrible jokes that are not actually terrible. The way you hum when you think no one is listening. How you see worth in things everyone else has given up on. Your patience, your kindness, your refusal to let me believe I was beyond redemption." Tears burned his eyes. "I love you. I am terrified to say it. Terrified that I am confusing gratitude with something deeper. Terrified that you will tell me this is just transference or healing or some psychological process that will fade, but I cannot keep it inside anymore. I love you. And whatever that means, whatever it costs, I needed you to know." Silence stretched between them. Rain pounded the roof. Fire crackled. Vincent waited for rejection, for the gentle letdown, for the professional explanation of why this could not work. Instead, Amara reached out and touched his face. "I have been waiting to hear those words." "What?" "I fell for you the first night, when you stood in my doorway, soaked and broken, and still trying to apologize for existing. But I could not say anything. Not while you were healing. Not while you might be confusing gratitude for something real." She moved closer. "I needed you whole before I could risk my own heart. But you are getting there, Vincent. Every day, you are getting there. And I am so tired of pretending I do not feel what I feel. You have feelings for me? Feelings does not begin to cover it." She kissed him. Soft at first, tentative, both of them shaking with the weight of what they were starting. Then deeper. Years of loneliness and longing pouring into that kiss. Vincent's hands tangled in her hair. She pressed against him. Solid. Real. Everything he had been afraid to want. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Amara took his hand. "Come with me." Her bedroom was small. Simple. Candles flickering on the dresser cast dancing shadows across white sheets. "Are you sure?" Vincent needed to ask. Needed to know this was not just comfort or curiosity. "I have never been more sure of anything. Because if we do this and I cannot, if my body's still, then we stop. Then we hold each other and it is still perfect." She cupped his face in her hands. "This is not about performance, Vincent. This is about connection. Whatever happens, we are together. That is all that matters." She kissed him again. And Vincent felt his body respond, not just mechanically, emotionally. Every nerve ending coming alive. His hands remembering how to touch. His heart remembering how to open. They undressed slowly, reverently, both crying as they explored the geography of each other's wounds. Amara traced the tension Vincent still carried in his shoulders. Vincent kissed the sadness that lived in the hollow of her throat. "You are beautiful," he whispered. "Inside and out. Completely beautiful. So are you. So incredibly, perfectly you." When they came together, it was slow and careful and sacred. Vincent's body remembered what to do. More than remembered. Exceeded every memory. This was not performance. This was communion. Two broken people becoming whole in each other's arms. He moved with her, and she wrapped around him, and they breathed together like they had been practicing in that garden. Finding rhythm. Building something new from the ashes of old pain. "I have got you." Her voice in his ear. "I have got you, and I'm not letting go." Vincent buried his face in her neck and wept. Not from sadness or shame. From joy so overwhelming it could not stay contained. Afterward, they lay tangled together. Skin to skin. Hearts synchronized. The storm outside had gentled to steady rain. Candles burned low. The world felt newborn. Thank you. Vincent kissed her shoulder, her neck, her lips. For what? For not giving up. For seeing me when I was invisible. For teaching me that love does not have to hurt. That it can heal instead. Amara pulled him closer. You did the hard work. You chose to heal. You chose to trust. You chose to love again despite everything. She traced patterns on his chest. I am just glad you chose me. They stayed awake until dawn, talking and touching and marveling at the impossibility of finding each other. Two people who had given up on love, stumbling into exactly what they needed. As morning light filtered through the windows, Amara propped herself on one elbow. What happens now? Vincent pulled her close. Now we keep going. Together. Whatever that looks like. I want that. More than I have wanted anything in a long time. Then that is what we do. 3 months later, Amara woke nauseated. She ran to the bathroom while Vincent held her hair back, rubbing her spine. Must be something I ate. It was not something she ate. A week of morning sickness later, the test confirmed what they both suspected. Amara stood in the bathroom doorway, holding the small white stick. I am pregnant. Vincent's world stopped. Are you? Is this? I am sure. And yes, it is yours. He crossed the room in 2 steps and pulled her into his arms. We are having a baby? We are having a baby. The ultrasound revealed even more. Amara set up the equipment in her examination room, her hands shaking slightly as she prepared the gel. Vincent sat beside the table, holding her free hand. This is surreal. I have done hundreds of these. Never imagined being on this side. She pressed the transducer to her abdomen. Both of them stared at the screen. Static. Movement. Then, oh my God. Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. There you are. A small shape, barely visible, but unmistakably real. Vincent squeezed her hand, unable to speak. She moved the transducer, adjusted the angle, then froze. What? What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. Just hold on. She moved the transducer again, more deliberately this time. Her eyes went wide. Vincent, there are 2. What? 2. 2 separate sacs. 2 heartbeats. Twins? Wait. Amara's voice had gone very quiet. Very clinical. Give me a second. She adjusted the angle one more time. Held still. Counted silently. Oh my God. Oh my God, Vincent. What? Not twins. Triplets. 3 separate sacs. 3 heartbeats. Vincent, I am pregnant with triplets. The room spun. Vincent gripped the edge of the table like it was the only solid thing in the universe. 3. 3 babies. 3 lives growing inside the woman he loved. The man who had spent a decade believing he could never father children. The man whose wife had poisoned him into impotence. The man who had given up on everything, including himself, was going to be a father. 3 times over, Amara turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. I spent years thinking children were not in my future. That I had given up that possibility when Michael died. And then you walked through my door, and you gave me back hope. You gave me back my life. She pressed his hand against her belly. Now we are creating 3 new ones. 3 chances at joy. 3 little people who will be part you and part me. Vincent pulled her into his arms. Both of them crying and laughing and holding each other like they might drown without the anchor of each other's bodies. Marry me. The words came out rough. Unplanned. Exactly right. Amara pulled back. What? Marry me. Not because you are pregnant, though that is incredible. Not because I owe you, though I owe you everything. Marry me because I love you. Because I want to build a life with you. Because I want those 3 babies to have parents who chose each other every single day. He took her face in his hands. I do not have a ring. I do not have a plan. I just have this. He pressed her hand over his heart. A heart that beats because you taught it how. A life that exists because you refuse to let me give up. And love. So much love I do not have words big enough to contain it. Amara's hand stayed pressed to his chest, feeling the rhythm of the heart she had helped save. Yes, yes, I will marry you. Yes to everything. The wedding was simple. Their garden, their community, the patients who had become family, gathered in mismatched chairs among flowers and vegetables. Oliver, Gabriel, and Samuel slept peacefully in bassinets in the front row. 3 tiny witnesses to their parents' love. Vincent stood at the altar they had built together from garden wood and wildflowers. He watched Amara walk toward him in a simple white dress and felt his heart expand beyond his chest. Beyond the garden. Beyond anything he had ever thought possible. She was radiant, not because of the dress or the flowers or the perfect light, because she was his, and he was hers. And somehow, impossibly, they had found their way to this moment. The officiant smiled at them both. The vows. You wrote your own. Vincent went first, his voice shaking but strong. Amara, you found me when I was drowning. You saw worth in a broken man who could not see it in himself. You did not just heal my body. You taught me how to be human again. How to hope. How to love without fear. He glanced at the 3 sleeping babies. You gave me these 3 perfect boys. And more importantly, you gave me you. I promise to choose you every day. To laugh with you. Cry with you. Build gardens with you. For the rest of our lives. Amara wiped her eyes. Vincent, you walked into my clinic during a storm, and I thought I was saving you. Turns out you were saving me right back. You reminded me that healing goes both ways. That strength is not about never breaking. It's about having the courage to rebuild. Her voice caught. You are the best man I know, and I cannot wait to spend forever proving it to you. They exchanged rings. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. And Vincent kissed his bride while their sons slept, and their community applauded, and the garden they had built together bloomed all around them. That night, after the guests had gone, and the babies were fed and sleeping, Vincent's phone buzzed with a message. He almost ignored it. Almost. But something made him look. It was from David, his old assistant. The one who had been there the night he met Camille. Thought you should know. Saw your ex today. Working at a restaurant downtown. Hostess, from the look of it. The guy she left you for dumped her about 6 months after they got together. Took most of her money with him apparently. Karma really is something. Congratulations on the wedding, by the way. Saw the photos online. You look happy. Vincent read the message twice. Waited for the satisfaction. The vindication. The surge of righteous triumph he had imagined for years. Nothing came. Just peace. Everything okay? Amara appeared beside him, wrapped in her robe. Vincent showed her the message. She read it silently. Looked up at him. How do you feel? Vincent looked at his sleeping sons. At his wife standing beside him in the garden, where he had learned to be human again. Grateful, he said finally. Grateful that she destroyed me. Because if she had not, I never would have found you. Amara kissed him softly. Her path is her own. What matters is ours. I know. And I do not feel anger anymore. I do not feel anything except peace. Just peace. They stood together under the stars, the same stars that had witnessed his years of death. His resurrection through love. His transformation into someone he never thought he could become. Vincent wrapped his arms around his wife and breathed in the scent of her hair. Lavender. From the garden. From the plant they had saved together all those months ago. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For giving me pain first, so I could understand the meaning of true love. Amara turned in his arms, looked up at him with eyes that held no shadows. Only light. You did that yourself, Vincent. I just helped you remember how. From one of the bassinets, a small sound. Oliver waking, then Gabriel, then Samuel joining his brothers in a chorus of tiny demands. Vincent laughed. Here we go. Here we go, Amara agreed. They walked together toward their sons, their future, their impossible, improbable, miraculous life. And in that moment, Vincent Hale finally understood what he had been searching for all along. Home was not a place. It was not a penthouse or a fortune or a name that made people listen. Home was this. Love that healed instead of harmed. Trust that was earned, not demanded. A family built from the wreckage of everything that came before. And 3 small heartbeats that proved beyond any doubt that sometimes the poison that nearly destroys you is just destiny's brutal way of leading you home. The end. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. Drop a comment telling me your story, telling me what you overcame, what you are still fighting. I read every single one. And I believe in you. The same way someone believed in Vincent when he could not believe in himself. Until next time, stay blessed. Stay hopeful. And never, ever stop believing in second chances.